Sign number 20. You stop trying to heal to impress people. There's a point in life where you realize you weren't really healing. You were performing recovery. Not online, not for the world, but for the people around you. You wanted to seem okay, seem functional, seem strong. You didn't want anyone to see the mess. You didn't want to make them uncomfortable. So you smiled while breaking. You said, "I'm fine," when you weren't. You went to work, laughed at jokes, showed up like nothing happened, all while quietly bleeding inside. And that's not healing. That's surviving on mute. Real healing is messy. It's not a glow up. It's not getting over it. It's nights when you feel like a ghost in your own body. It's realizing you're still angry at things you swore you forgave. It's learning to breathe again without pretending everything's okay. And the wild part? Nobody applauds that kind of healing. There's no finish line. No one sees the strength it takes to simply exist without collapsing. But that's where your real power is born. In the unseen moments, the quiet battles, the silent victories no one knows about. Because the second you stop trying to look healed, you start actually healing. The second you stop performing peace for others, you start creating it for yourself. You stop healing for their comfort and start healing for your freedom. That's when you become untouchable. Calm, certain, dangerous in the best way, because your strength no longer needs to be witnessed to be real. That's what it means to be unbreakable. Sign number 19. You start wanting peace more than revenge. There comes a moment where you stop fantasizing about proving people wrong. You stop rehearsing the perfect comeback. You stop needing them to regret losing you. One day, you just wake up and you don't care anymore. Not because you forgot what they did, but because you finally understand how heavy anger actually is. Carry it long enough and it starts to eat your joy, your focus, your sleep. Revenge used to taste sweet in your head. Now it just tastes like poison. You start realizing peace is more powerful than payback. Peace means you don't flinch when their name pops up. It means you don't stalk, don't plot, don't even wish them bad. You just release it, because your energy is too expensive to spend on resentment. Revenge keeps you tied to the past. Peace frees you from it. And here's the twist. Peace doesn't mean weakness. It's not saying what you did was okay. It's saying, I refuse to let what you did control me any longer. That's real strength. It's walking away when every part of you wants to fight. It's choosing silence when chaos invites you back in. When you start craving peace over revenge, you level up so quietly that it confuses people. They expect the old version of you, the reactive one, the one who snapped back. But you're not interested in that anymore. You're not seeking closure. You're building peace brick by brick in silence. Because revenge ends once you get even. Peace begins the moment you stop needing to. That's how you know you're becoming unbreakable. Sign number 18. You don't argue. You just detach. One day you stop explaining yourself. You stop needing people to get it. You realize arguments don't fix ignorance. They just drain your soul. You used to defend your name, your choices, your worth like it was your job. Now you just breathe, smile, and walk away. Because silence can't be misquoted. You finally get it. Peace is louder than proof. Detachment isn't cold, it's clarity. You're not heartless. You're healed enough to know that some people hear only what confirms their story, no matter how honest you are. So instead of fighting to be understood, you conserve your energy. You choose quiet over chaos, stillness over drama. Detachment isn't giving up. It's leveling up. It's saying, I love me too much to keep bleeding for what doesn't listen. You stop reacting. You observe, you understand, you move differently. And people call it distance, but really it's self-respect. You don't win by arguing, you win by outgrowing. That's the moment you become untouchable. Sign number 17. You laugh in situations that used to break you. It's strange the first time it happens, when something that once shattered you barely moves your pulse. The same insult, the same rejection, the same pressure, and you just laugh. Not out of arrogance, but awareness. You've seen this movie before and you know how it ends. You survived worse. You've cried all the tears, felt all the pain, and now you're too wise to waste another ounce of energy on what no longer deserves it. That laugh isn't sarcasm, it's freedom. It's your body realizing it doesn't have to go to war every time life throws a punch. You start seeing pain differently. It's not an attack anymore, it's a test. And you've passed it enough times to know you'll be fine. The storm hits, you shrug, you keep walking. That's not numbness, that's evolution. You've turned triggers into proof of growth. Every laugh is your soul saying, I'm stronger than that now. And that, right there, is how resilience sounds. Sign number 16. You no longer rush what's meant for you. Once upon a time, You chased everything: people, timelines, outcomes. You begged the universe to hurry. Now you just trust. You've seen what forcing things costs. You've watched how chasing ruins alignment. So you stop sprinting toward everything that glitters and start walking toward what feels right. You realize real things don't need to be rushed. Love that's meant for you won't vanish if you rest. Opportunities meant for you won't pass just because you took a breath. Patience becomes your new flex. You start saying, if it's mine, it'll find me, and I'll be ready. You stop comparing, stop checking who's ahead, stop panicking that you're behind. Because your story isn't late, it's being written with precision. Slower doesn't mean smaller, it means solid. So you slow down, align, and let life unfold instead of forcing it open. The old you chased everything. The new you attracts by being still. That's the difference between desperation and destiny. Sign number 15. You let people misunderstand you and stay silent. You reach a stage where you realize being misunderstood isn't failure, it's protection. The old you would have written essays explaining your side, proving your intent, begging to be seen correctly. Now you just smile. Let them talk. Let them twist. Let them build whatever version of you fits their comfort. Because truth doesn't need a defense team. The right ones will feel your energy. The wrong ones will believe rumors. And either way, you win. Silence becomes your filter. You learn that explanation is expensive energy, and not everyone deserves a receipt. So you stop correcting lies, stop begging to be liked, stop managing other people's perceptions. You let misunderstanding do the dirty work of revealing who's really for you. And you find peace in that. Because staying silent isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's the confidence of someone who knows, I don't need to be understood to be real. That's unbreakable energy, like quiet, grounded, unstoppable. Sign number 14, you start seeing loneliness as a season, not a sentence. There's a type of loneliness that doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It means you're growing faster than your environment. You start noticing how quiet the world gets when you stop chasing noise. You stop filling every silence with a distraction, every weekend with company that doesn't feed your soul. And at first it hurts. You'll question if you push too many people away. You'll wonder if you're hard to love, but give it time. Loneliness is not punishment, it's preparation. It's life clearing the room before your next chapter begins. You start realizing not everyone deserves front row seats to your evolution. Some people were only meant to meet the version of you that didn't know peace yet. And now that you do, solitude becomes sacred. You start enjoying your own energy. You stop fearing empty rooms. You understand that silence isn't empty, it's full of answers. That's when loneliness stops feeling like isolation and starts feeling like alignment. You finally get comfortable being alone, because being alone is better than being surrounded and unseen. Sign number 13, you move different when no one's watching. This is where integrity gets real. Anyone can look disciplined when someone's checking. But your unbreakable version, they show up in silence. They do the work no one claps for. They clean the kitchen at midnight because they promised themselves they would. They open the book, take the walk, say no to the easy dopamine hit because they respect the future they're building. You stop performing for witnesses. You stop needing accountability partners to stay consistent. You become the partner. That's self-trust. The old you needed motivation. The new you just needs a reason. You realize that greatness happens when nobody's keeping score, when no one's posting about it, when no one even knows. The strongest people don't need an audience. They need a standard. You start realizing the real flex isn't who notices your growth. It's that you didn't give up when no one did. That quiet self-discipline, that's the foundation of freedom. Sign number 12, you don't announce your growth. You live it. There's something sacred about silent transformation. You used to tell everyone about your plans, your healing, your new chapter. But now you don't say a word. You just disappear into the work. You let your evolution speak for itself. No explanations, no declarations, just results. Because you finally realize energy grows better in silence. Talking about it too soon invites opinions you didn't ask for. Now you protect your growth like a secret garden, private, intentional, unbothered. The people who need to notice will. Everyone else will just wonder how you changed so much without warning. That's the beauty of it. You become allergic to performing progress. You stop narrating your healing for applause. You start realizing growth doesn't need to be seen to be real. It's not for validation, it's for liberation. You're not chasing witnesses anymore. You're building quietly, humbly, powerfully. And one day you'll walk into a room and people won't recognize you, not because you bragged, but because you bloomed. Sign number 11. You stop wasting energy explaining your worth. You reach a point where you stop negotiating your value. You stop bending your truth to fit smaller rooms. You stop auditioning for people who were never qualified to judge you in the first place. You used to explain yourself, justify your boundaries, prove you were good enough. Now, you just walk differently. You realize your energy is expensive and you're done giving discounts. You stop convincing people to treat you right. You stop reminding them what you bring to the table because you finally understand you are the table. The peace, the growth, the wisdom, that's all you. The old you begged to be chosen. The new you only chooses back. And that switch, that's freedom. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your confidence, your silence, or your standards. People who can't see your worth aren't your audience. You start saving that energy for yourself. Because every time you stop explaining, you start expanding. And that's how you become unbreakable, by realizing you never needed permission to be enough. Sign number 10. You realize not every battle deserves a response. Maturity hits different when you realize peace is worth more than being right. You stop needing the last word. You stop jumping into arguments just to prove your point. You let people misunderstand you because your peace of mind isn't up for debate. You finally understand that not every spark deserves a fire. Some things aren't worth the smoke. You used to take every insult personally, you use every disagreement as a war. Now you see through it. You recognize projection. You feel the bait. And you just smile and move on. Because you know the truth. Silence always exposes louder than anger ever will. Your energy isn't a weapon anymore. It's armor. You don't fight everything. You outlast it. You outgrow it. You stop reacting and start responding with grace. People call it cold. It's not cold. It's controlled. And that's power. You don't win every battle anymore. You just stop showing up to the ones beneath you. That's what real strength looks like. Quiet, grounded, unbothered. Sign number 9, you value rest like it's a superpower. You used to think rest was weakness. Like if you stopped, you'd fall behind. Like the world would forget you if you dared to breathe. But now you see it. Rest isn't quitting, it's strategy. You start realizing that exhaustion doesn't earn you respect. It just numbs your purpose. You can't hear your intuition when your mind's running on fumes. So you slow down, not because you're lazy, but because you're finally wise enough to know that stillness is where power regenerates. You stop bragging about burnout. You stop glorifying the grind. You start protecting your energy the way billionaires protect their money. You rest because your vision deserves a clear mind. You rest because your soul deserves recovery. And you stop apologizing for it. Rest doesn't make you soft. It makes you sustainable. You learn that true strength isn't in running nonstop. It's in knowing when to stop. Because the unbreakable ones, they don't burn out. They burn steady. They move slower, deeper, quieter. And somehow they always last longer. Sign number 8. You lose interest in impressing the unimpressive. You reach a point where other people's opinions stop hitting the same. You no longer need validation from people you wouldn't trade lives with. You used to bend yourself into shapes just to fit someone's comfort zone. You used to crave applause from crowds that didn't even like themselves. Now you just laugh. You realize most people judge from their insecurities, not their insight. So why chase approval from confusion? You start building for meaning, not clout. You stop needing to prove your worth through aesthetics, achievements, or filters. You want real, not recognition. You want peace, not praise. The unbreakable version of you doesn't need to prove anything, as they just move like they already have it. You stop performing for the blind and start walking with purpose. Because once you stop trying to impress the unimpressive, you become unstoppable. You free yourself from the currency of validation and start living like someone who finally gets it. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand out quietly. Sign number 7. You don't seek closure. You create it. You finally realize closure isn't something someone gives you. It's something you decide on your own. You stop waiting for apologies that will never come, explanations that wouldn't change anything anyway. You stop chasing people who broke you just to ask them to fix you, because now you see it. Closure isn't conversation, it's acceptance. It's saying, yeah, that hurt. But it's done. You don't need to understand why they left, why it failed, why it ended that way. You just stop replaying the story. You put the book down and you stop rereading the chapter that already taught you the lesson. You stop begging people to be honest. You start being honest with yourself. And that's where freedom begins. You stop chasing closure because your peace is no longer up for negotiation. You build it yourself, one boundary at a time. That's the quiet power of healing, realizing nobody else gets to decide when your heart moves on. Sign number 6. You respect the power of walking away. Walking away used to feel like losing, like surrender, like failure. Now it feels like mastery. You start realizing not every battle deserves your fight, not every connection deserves a second chance. You've seen what staying too long costs: your peace, your joy, your sleep. So now you leave quietly, not to hurt anyone, just to save yourself. You stop begging to be seen, stop arguing to be valued, stop explaining your worth. You don't slam doors, you just lock them behind you. Because peace is expensive, and you're done letting anyone make you pay in anxiety. The old you stayed to prove you could handle it. The new you leaves to prove you finally love yourself enough not to. You stop romanticizing potential. You stop trying to fix people who enjoy being broken. You choose distance over disrespect. And in that moment, you realize walking away doesn't make you cold. It makes you in control. Sign number 5. You get comfortable being the quiet one in the room. There was a time when you needed to fill every silence. You talked fast, laughed louder, explained too much, anything to feel seen. But the new you sit back and observe. You don't chase the spotlight anymore. You let your energy speak. You realize the loudest person in the room is rarely the strongest, just the most insecure. The real power is in being comfortable with silence, with mystery, with not having to prove you belong. You start noticing things others miss. You read the room, not the comments. You stop rushing to respond, because now you understand the difference between reacting and reading. Your calm becomes unsettling to the insecure. They'll call you quiet, distant, detached. You'll call it peace. You're no longer interested in being understood. You're focused on understanding. And that quiet presence, that's what makes you magnetic. You don't demand attention. You earn respect. You don't perform confidence. You are confidence. Sign number 4. You find calm in the chaos instead of fear. There used to be a time when chaos ran your life. Every problem felt like the end. Every storm felt personal. You'd spiral, panic, overthink, drown in what-ifs. But now, you breathe. You've seen too much to be shaken by small things. You don't react like you used to. You don't let every uncertainty wreck your peace. Because you've learned that panic never saved anyone. It just made the fall worse. You start realizing calm isn't something you're born with. It's something you train for. Every time you survive something you thought you couldn't, you built it. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every long night that didn't kill you. It gave you another layer of armor. And now when life gets messy, you don't crumble. You center. You ground yourself in faith, not fear. You don't need everything to make sense to keep moving. You just trust. You trust that you'll figure it out like you always have. That's what real peace is. Not a life without chaos, but a mind that doesn't surrender to it. You're not numb, you're seasoned. You've seen worse, felt worse, and you're still here. The storm doesn't scare you anymore because you finally realized you are the storm. Sign number 3. You stop seeing pain as the enemy. Pain used to terrify you. You ran from it, numbed it, distracted yourself from it. But at some point, you stopped running. You started asking what it was trying to teach you. Because you realized pain is not your punishment. It's your portal. It's the universe's way of saying, there's a version of you on the other side of this that you can't reach yet. So now, when it hurts, you lean in. You don't escape it, you explore it. You sit with it long enough to understand it, and that changes everything. You start seeing heartbreak as a reset, failure as feedback, endings as evolution. Pain stops being a villain and becomes a teacher. You no longer ask, why me? You start asking, what now? And that question shifts everything. Because pain stops defining you. It starts refining you. You learn to suffer consciously, to grow from what used to destroy you. You realize the strongest people aren't the ones who avoid pain. They're the ones who learn to turn it into power. That's what unbreakable looks like. Someone who doesn't fear the fire because they've already learned how to walk through it. Sign number 2. You start loving yourself in public the way you used to in secret. For the longest time, you kept your self-love hidden. You downplayed your wins. You apologized for your confidence. You made yourself small so no one would call you too much. But one day you realize, it's not arrogance to love yourself out loud. It's alignment. You start speaking kinder to yourself, dressing for your standards, not trends. You stop begging for validation and start embodying it. You start realizing self-love isn't about pretending to be perfect. It's about being proud you made it this far. You survived things that broke better people. You rebuilt yourself from pieces, and now you're done shrinking to make others comfortable. Loving yourself publicly isn't rebellion, it's survival. Because in a world that profits off your insecurity, confidence is a quiet revolution. You don't have to scream it, you just have to live it. Every time you set a boundary, every time you say no, every time you choose peace, you're proving it. You're not asking for attention anymore. You're becoming the attention. Because nothing shines brighter than someone who finally stopped hiding their own light. Sign number one, you realize you were never fragile, just untested. This is the moment it all clicks. You look back and realize every breakdown, every loss, every betrayal was never proof you were weak. It was training. You were never fragile. You were just waiting to meet the parts of you that only pain could unlock. All those moments you thought were the end were actually the start of your real story. You stopped being the victim and became the architect. You stopped asking, why me? And started saying, try me. You understand now that strength isn't built in comfort, it's forged in chaos. Every time life hit you, it was molding you. Every time someone left, it was clearing space for alignment. You've outgrown the idea that strength means not breaking. Real strength is breaking 1,000 times and still choosing to rebuild. You are proof that rock bottom isn't the end, it's the foundation. Because now you walk through life different, quieter, sharper, lighter. You've become the calm inside the storm. You're not chasing peace anymore. You are peace. The world didn't make you unbreakable. You did, the Wise Joe message, for the ones who get it. If you felt something in these words, it's because you're not the average listener. You're one of the few who's waking up, who's starting to see how rare real strength is. And if you want to go deeper, really deeper, into mastering your mind, healing without pretending, and building unshakable confidence, I've built something for that. It's called the Wise Joe Private Club, a space for the few who don't just talk about growth, they live it. You'll find details in the description, and if you want to dive into the topics we didn't have time for here, I've written a few ebooks that go even further into mindset, pain, healing, and self-respect. They're linked below, and if you use the code WISEJOE, you'll get 20% off, because you're part of the ones who get it. Now here's the truth. Most people will scroll past this and forget it ever existed, but you won't. You'll remember this energy because deep down, you know you're not breaking anymore. You're becoming.